I'm the Director of Education and the Marketing Chair for Women Who Compute, who we are collabing on this workshop with. We have some amazing speakers for you guys today, so I hope you guys are excited. And let's get started.
Okay, awesome. So hi everyone, my name is Mustafa. I am an alumni of ACM now. That's so sad. But I was previously the Director of Education. And now I'm in, what am I in? I'm in Girls Who Code as the Logistics Chair. So we're gonna do some short introductions about us just so you guys can trust us that the information we're given is reliable. So yeah, some of the past experience I've had professionally. This past summer, I interned at Facebook on the Messenger Kids team. The summer before that, I was at JP Chase. That was an internship I actually landed from the Intern Fair, Career Fair. They were at both. So I showed up to both and it was a reach out from one of them. And then prior to that, I was helping out on a local startup doing Android development. Outside of work experience though, and which will be something that's really important and something you should talk about when you don't have work experience, is this outside technical experience. So the stuff I did before was EPICS, which is an UTD class that offers basically projects with local startups, not startups, but local nonprofits. I did undergraduate research. I did the website for Commute marketing and a bunch of hackathons.
Hey guys, my name is Nisha Rajesh. I'm currently the president of Women Who Compute. A bit about me, just to legitimize what I say in the next couple of hours. A bit about my internship experience. For the past 2 years, I've been at Google as a software engineering intern. I've been on the Maps team both years. One of them, 1 year working on Google Maps commute notifications for Android and iOS. And this summer, I just wrapped up back on the Maps team working on Android Auto, so building Android applications to be embedded into cars while they are manufactured. And prior to that, I interned at Samsung Austin Semiconductor, which actually I got this internship from the Fall Intern Fair. So go to the Intern Fair, guys. Quick plug, where I was a data engineering intern, just doing some Python scripting and developing a GUI to automate that process. And finally, before that, in high school, I got a bit of my corporate experience at Celanese Corporation, which is a Fortune 500 chemical manufacturing company. And I did a bit of HR, IT, just to get my feet wet with a bit of corporate experience. So I did a bit of SAP, a bit of data entry. So that's kind of been my internship experience. Outside of my internship experience, things I'd like to talk about when I'm interviewing or just to anybody in general, I'm very passionate about women empowerment. This is my 4th year of being a member at Women Who Compute. I currently serve as the president of Women in Cybersecurity, a brand new organization that was opened up to cater to women interested in cybersecurity, as well as serving as the liaison for Girls Who Code. I'm also the head of marketing for We Hack UTD, which is UTD's first female, women, and non-binary focused hackathon. I've been a mentor for ACM education for about a year now, and I did a bit of research at a biomedical and electrical engineering lab at UTD my first 2 years. So that's kind of just a bit about me, just definitely I think everybody else on this panel has really great experience, has some really good stuff to say. So make sure you guys are taking notes and paying attention. So.
Hey guys, my name is Shannon Beramida. I'm also heavily involved with ACM, or at least I used to be. I was in projects as a participant, then the following semester became the lead, then the director, and then after that became the president, and now gracefully replaced by Sid, of course. And now I'm heavily involved with Girls Who Code with Moose and Nisha and Annie, who I know is in this call as well. But beyond that, I'm also the web editor for the Mercury. So that's helped me out a lot. All these experiences have helped me out a lot with the professional experience that I've had. So this past summer, I was actually on the OneDrive and SharePoint team with Microsoft, unfortunately, virtual of course. But I learned a lot about full stack development, but primarily on the front end. And before that, I actually worked with, not directly, but with Moose at JP Chase, also on a full stack project. And the way I got my internships were a little bit non-traditional in that I actually got my Microsoft internship through Grace Hopper, interviewed there for PM role actually, and then flew out for on-sites later on for a software engineering internship. So if you have any questions about that or how to navigate different ways of getting an internship, I got you. And then for Chase as well, I actually got that internship. I applied through the intern fair, I believe, and then I did their not the virtual hackathon, the on-site hackathon, and then got an offer from the hackathon.
Hey y'all, I'm Sahana. I'm currently Vice President of Women Who Compute. And to give you guys some background about me, I'm a sophomore CS major. And this past summer, I interned at State Farm in the Information Security Department. And I'm currently continuing with them in the fall, doing a co-op with them as well. I'm involved in a few student orgs at school. I'm on the dev team for WeHack. Like Nisha mentioned, if you haven't registered for that yet, I highly recommend you do. It'll be a super fun event. You'll get some swag. So that'll be cool. And my first semester at UTD, I participated in ACM projects, and this will be my second semester being a project manager for projects as well. Cool. So what is the intern fair? You know, it's a really great way for you guys to speak with recruiters, and a lot of these companies are from the Dallas area, and they're looking to recruit specifically from UT Dallas. So y'all have an advantage, especially at the ETS intern fair. So I highly recommend that you go. It'll be a great opportunity for you guys to get some face-to-face interaction with recruiters and practice speaking with them. And it'll be a great way for you to hopefully walk out with an offer to interview at one of these companies. Cool. So I know a lot of people don't bother going to the intern fair because they just assume that companies are going to tell them to apply online. So there's no point in going. But even if companies do tell you to apply online, which I'm going to be honest with you, they are going to tell you to apply online, I still think it's a great way to practice. It's a great opportunity to practice for interviews because you're going to speak with recruiters. You're going to get an inside look on these companies. It's a great place to figure out what kinds of companies you're interested in. And it's also a great opportunity to practice your elevator pitch and practice for interviews that you're going to have after the intern fair. And speaking from personal experience, I didn't get an interview offer from the intern fair, but it was a really great opportunity for me because I got to kind of get in front of recruiters, like work on speaking with them, kind of learn how to pitch myself. And I kind of just went to the intern fair on a whim. Being a freshman, I hadn't had, a lot of side projects. I didn't think I was qualified to be an intern at a lot of these companies. So I just went and kind of, gave them my pitch and kind of walked out of there. But even though I didn't get an interview from the intern fair specifically, I really do think it helped me when I started doing my interviews at other places because it made sure my resume was up to date. It made sure I knew how to kind of talk to these people and learn how to hold a conversation with recruiters and brag about yourself and in a way that's not like too braggy. But Mustafa, Shannon, and Nisha, they're at like amazing companies and they've had some really great experiences, but they all started off, practicing and going to the intern fair and going to events like this. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard them tell me that practice makes perfect. So, the more you practice, the better chance you'll have of interviewing at some great companies and getting some offers from companies you really want to be at over the summer.
So before actually going into preparation for the intern fair, I do want to provide a short anecdote about my personal experience going off of what Sahana said. There can be a lot of people who out of pure laziness don't want to go to the intern fair, A, because it's virtual, so you automatically think you're not going to have an opportunity, and B, you can just just have a crutch on online applications and assume that's how you're going to get your job. I say ignore those people and definitely pursue the intern fair. As a freshman, I was able to get a software engineering internship role, like at Samsung. And I'm going to be honest, I did not have any technical experience at all. When I was talking to the recruiter, I talked to her about how I was in a music theory class. That was as technical as it got. So it's not necessarily, if you come in with technical experience, that's amazing. Definitely gives you more leverage and a higher chance of probably, interviewing. But if you go in with a positive mindset, thinking, disregarding the class that you're in, like if you're a freshman, forget about it, it's fine. Just still go to the intern fair. Go with a positive attitude. Make sure you demonstrate, that you're willing to learn, you can communicate well, and you have that ability to function normally in a corporate environment. That's much more appealing than, having a couple of technical projects. So it doesn't matter what year you're in, definitely still make sure you pursue this intern fair, because you never know where you could get a job. You could get it through the intern fair, you could apply online, you could do it through a conference, referrals, all stuff like that. So definitely keep your options open. So short anecdote, generally how to prepare. So this is what I'm going to be talking about is going to be something you need to do the night before, or like the morning of, definitely not super close to the intern fair time. I believe it's on Friday. Jerry did send out an email with the logistics and all the event information about it. So in preparation for the intern fair, obviously, please review your resume. That's going to be your main technical talking point here, just because with a virtual platform, it is going to be a little tricky getting in enough time to talk to a recruiter. So the best way is to concentrate your technical experiences from your resume. So make sure, it's uploaded to Handshake. It's the right version of your resume. Whatever you're talking about is that same resume that's attached to your profile. Just because, like I said, being virtual, Handshake is the only way that recruiters are going to get access to your resume. So make sure you know what version is uploaded. Shine your shoes, color coordinate your tie, and by that, if you look the part, it's a higher chance you'd be able to play it. You know what I mean? So definitely don't be in your PJs. Brush your teeth, comb your hair. Wear a dope suit. It's okay if you're in like boxers below, or like PJs below. Like, just make sure that you are presenting yourself in a very professional manner through the camera. That definitely plays a very big role on how you present yourself, and first impressions, obviously super important. And in general, I think that's just a self-confidence booster for yourself. So make sure, even if you know your resume, you need to make sure that you can demonstrate yourself as someone who presents themselves well, can take these type of situations seriously, and actually show that you care about being there, even though it's virtual. Definitely, get some sleep the night before. Don't stay up trying to cram, doing leak code and all of that good stuff, preparing like your elevator speech. Obviously, prepare that stuff, but don't stay up the night before too late trying to do that, because you do need to make sure you have the mental stamina to last throughout the entire intern fair. So get some sleep, make sure you eat breakfast. And once again, I'm going to emphasize, shower, brush your teeth, still maintain the hygiene as if you were going in person, because they do really see how you present yourself, to make sure, that you're professional and you look the part. Definitely find a quiet space. Make sure, like a lot of our backgrounds right now aren't really that interesting. It's basically just like plain walls. And you know what? It's better like that sometimes. Just make sure you're not in a background that's distracting. There's no people walking around. Make sure that, your surroundings are super quiet. So anything that helps you stay focused throughout the entire intern fair. Mustafa, what's up?
Hey, I just want to ask, is there any particular way I should like make my resume for like online platforms?
Yes. So thank you for reminding me. So obviously now that we are going virtual, something that a lot of recruiters aren't going to be looking at all the resumes. They're going to go through, like those resume parsers. I forget the acronym, Mustafa, if you can help me out. Make sure that your resume is built in that format. So you can do like a quick Google search to make sure that if your resume goes through one of those parsers, it'll be able to pick up whatever it needs to be, attractive.
Yeah, the acronym is ATS, Applicant Tracking Systems. Super annoying, but the world we live in.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for reminding me about that. But yeah, definitely make sure your resume is also built out properly in case, it's sent in a batch through a parser. But yeah, so there are going to be about like 65 companies, I think. And let's be real, you're not going to be able to hit all of those. I do know you have to register for slots. So, try to take a look at hopefully you've taken a look at the list of companies if it's publicly available, and try to pick, your top 15, 20, as much as you can. Try to rank them to see which ones you're most interested in. And when you're doing this, try to make sure that you're thinking not only about, like the name of the company, like obviously being a bit hypocritical here. Try to choose companies, where the work that they do has some sort of like personal relevancy, or, you're interested in a certain product area that they work in, and try to rank a bunch of companies and see where you would like to work and if they're coming to the intern fair. Definitely, once you've come up with this list, do some research, prepare some notes on all of these companies, just because you come off as a lot more attractive and more professional if you do know what that company is about. If you're talking to a recruiter and they're like, so why do you want to work for Google? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what Google does. Can you tell me what they do? That's not going to look good. So you need to make sure, I want to work for Google because, maps is a great part of my life, personal relevancy, all that good stuff. I can't drive, so I need like a GPS to help me get everywhere. Just simple stuff like that, knowing at least the main points of work that they're involved in can go a long way. When I say that, I did take a look at the format of the intern fair. You can be grouped in one-on-one sessions, which are 10-minute sessions, and you can be grouped in 30-minute group interviews. So regardless of whether you have the ability to, like do an elevator pitch or you're put in a group, just make sure you know what that company is about and why you want to work there going in. It's just something that's very important. So going off of the elevator pitch, obviously develop and practice your elevator pitch. I don't know how many interview slots you have that are the one-on-ones, because it's most likely you're going to get a chance to do your full-fledged elevator pitch in that time you're alone with the recruiter. But I have been in some group interviews where they've been able to be like, hey, talk about yourself, talk about your technical experiences. And solidifying a good elevator pitch is going to be the best way that you can talk about yourself in a braggy way. Don't worry about, boasting about yourself. This is the one time you don't have to worry about, being humble. Obviously, you want to showcase your technical and soft skills and your abilities. So definitely like create and practice an elevator pitch. And we're going to go into that a bit after this. And one more thing, this is a more logistical issue. Definitely check to make sure that your camera and your microphone are working. Worst case, your camera doesn't work, but definitely you need a microphone to communicate with them. So just make sure, like you're able to see yourself in the camera. You can talk to someone. So, I've been in like meetings and presentations where I've muted myself for like 2 minutes. So don't be like me. Make sure you check that you can actually be heard by other people. So in case something goes wrong, Murphy's Law on the day of your computer doesn't work, you can always use your phone, I guess. I'm not sure what platforms the intern fair is going to be using, but as a backup, you can just try to use other devices if possible. So I know I've been saying a lot about elevator pitch practice, and this is probably one of the most core components of presenting yourself to a recruiter. I think at any stage of the interview process, it's highly critical that you have an elevator pitch like whipped up and ready to go. I know for me, if you recruit a lot, it just becomes like a memorized script. You just like keep chunking it out, and you know what? It's the perfect way to present yourself, your technical, your communication, your informal and formal abilities in a very concise amount of time. So obviously this is just a breakdown of what a sample elevator speech looks like. And I know these slides are going to be posted somewhere. So if you ever need to refer to this when you're developing your own elevator pitch, definitely do that, because it's very important that you have a very well-flowing and understandable elevator pitch. So I guess I should probably define what an elevator pitch is. Hopefully you guys know what it is. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you're in an elevator with someone, going from the 1st to the 6th floor, maybe that should give you like 20 seconds. I don't know. It's basically a persuasive speech that helps talk about yourself to garner interest in like recruiters or anybody you're talking to. So this should be showcasing like currently where you stand in university, what your technical experience is, examples of what you've done, what type of positions you're looking for, and why you want to work for that company. So this is where doing that research on all of those companies is going to help when you're developing your elevator pitch, because you can tailor your elevator pitch to the company that you're working for. So I can just quickly go through mine. Obviously make sure yours is more well drafted, just because I'm coming up with one right now off the top of my head. But I could just be like, hi, my name's Nisha Rajesh. I'm a graduate student currently pursuing my master's in artificial intelligence and AI here at UTD. I've had a bit of technical experience in back-end development as a software engineering intern at Google and Samsung. Some examples at Google, I've worked on the Maps team for the past 2 years. 1 year working on Android Auto, where I built a brand new Android application that helps proxy packets over a TCP socket connection to perform data validation. And the year before that, I worked on Google Maps Commute notifications to develop a brand new notification that notifies the user when their route is being compromised by heavy traffic and road closure. So I've had a bit of experience, doing back-end software development, a bit of front-end, with the notification development. In addition to that, I've done a bit of data engineering at Samsung, where I've dabbled a bit in ETL, which is extract, transforming, and loading data with Python. So that's given me the ability to script and still work on the back end, while again, pursuing a bit of front end and developing a GUI using Python Flask. And I'm interested in full-time opportunities. Obviously, you say you're interested in internships, but for me, I'm interested in full-time opportunities starting summer 2021. And I'm very interested in working for Google because I believe that the product area that this company is focused towards, as well as innovation, is something that my values very, much align with. I use all Google products all the time, just stuff like that. And I hope that I can give a good impression about myself today. If you have any questions about my technical experience, I'd be more than happy to answer. That was probably a bit more than 20 seconds, but you guys kind of get the point. Definitely try to make your experiences concise, but then they should be able to understand what you did and also be impressed by your technical experience. So make sure you practice this a lot. This is something, even if you stand in front of the mirror and look goofy saying it, as long as you can get it down like a script, just every time someone asks, you should be able to do this in your sleep. It is definitely the best way to present yourself in the most positive manner as possible. So.
All right, so during the actual intern fair, oh, hold on, I think is there feedback? Are you guys getting feedback? No? Okay, cool. Okay, so during the actual intern fair, since you guys are in a virtual intern fair this time, be respectful of your recruiter's time or your interviewer's time. You have registered slots, so be prompt to them. If you're not, it shows that you're not reliable. It shows that you're not respectful. So this is probably one of the most important things about this type of intern fair. When you're early for your intern fair, or you should be early, make sure to get your notes out and reread them, review them. What are you interested about for this company? Why do you want to work for them? These are the things that they'll probably ask you about, because they probably won't have time to ask you a technical question, or if they do, it'll be a very high level question. But the most important things that they'll ask you about are, why do you want to work here? And those are the things you should have prepared for prior. Some important things to take note during the intern fair is to maintain eye contact and to make sure that you're listening actively. One part of this is maybe disclose what kind of tech getup that you have. So right now I actually have my phone, and because I don't have a webcam, my phone right here, and then my computer behind it. Make sure that you let your interviewer know in case your eye contact keeps swapping, so they know that you're actually paying attention and not listening to them. This is also a way to tell them you're not getting distracted. Another way to show that you're actively listening is to actively ask questions. This shows that you're engaged and that you're interested in the company and the recruiter who's giving their time to you. A good way to do this is to have a list of prepared questions that Nisha mentioned earlier. Next slide, please. So talking with recruiters, the most important thing besides being prompt for your interview is to be yourself. And as cliche as that sounds, is probably the most important thing here, because if you're trying to be someone else, you're not going to really give a good impression to your recruiter. I think personally, personal anecdote here, but personally, I don't think I'm the most technically gifted person, but I've really tried to showcase my personality when talking to recruiters, and I think that's gotten me a lot farther than if I had just focused on all these classes that I've taken or all these projects that I've done. When you go into your interview, take a deep breath. It really does help. I know my heart pounds all the time when I talk to my interviewers, but that extra breath really makes a difference. And maintaining that strong eye contact when you're giving your elevator elevator pitch is really important. And just to reiterate, when they are talking, make sure to make that eye contact, even if you can't really see their eyes, or like if they can't see yours, if you're just using your microphone, just try your best to do so. At this point in time, when they are interviewing you, just to get to know you, don't ask how much you're gonna get. You haven't even gotten to the part where they ask you technical questions. Don't ask them what the company does. You should have prepared for this. You should have done your research. If you do, this really gives off a really bad impression, and they probably won't call you back for another interview. When talking to your recruiter, make sure that you have you elaborate on the different tasks that you've accomplished in a STAR format. And actually, Nisha did this very well, but I'll give another example. So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and results. So here's one example. During my internship at Microsoft, I improved performance by 50% by defer loading the property pane settings within my feature. So notice that my situation was my internship. The task was defer loading the property pane settings, task and action, and the results were improving the performance by 50%. So this indicates to your interviewer that you were able to accomplish something within such a short period of time and that you had a great impact on the company. All right, next set of slides.
Hey, Shannon.
Yes.
We have a couple questions in the chat.
Oh, couple questions. I'm so sorry. I'm literally on my phone, so you're gonna see my
big
forehead.
So yeah, Annie Paul asked, what are some good questions to ask the recruiters?
Good question to ask. I think there's some basic ones that you can say, like, what is the most impact that you've made? That's actually not that basic. What's the most impact that you've made at the company? Or what is something that the company is looking forward to making improvements upon? So for example, Microsoft's biggest focuses this past summer this past quarter were performance and accessibility. So performance is like speed up of loading, sorry dog, and then accessibility is making sure that everything is accessible to everyone. So for example, they won't show any content in red and green so that it is accessible to colorblind people. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, I just want to add as well, in like personal experience, I guess, that like I try to like listen. So it depends on who I'm talking to, right? Like if it's just a recruiter, then they're more knowledgeable about the program, probably like how the intern program works. So I might ask them like, oh, you know, what are some past projects that interns have done, right? Because their job is also to sell the program to you. So yeah, like what past projects have interns done? What past impact have interns had? Stuff like that, like what kind of teams have they worked on. But then if I'm talking to like an engineer, then usually they'll introduce themselves like, oh, I work on such and such team. So I might like try to grab onto that at the end and be like, oh yeah, what is that team like? Like, what do you do? What's like your favorite kind of stuff you've worked on for this company? Why did you join? What's your least favorite part about this company? Always stand a list. So yeah, I guess try to like the active listening thing that Shannon mentioned as well, try to like go off that as well.
Just another thing to add, you know, I'm gonna make it super short. I know it's really good to talk about, you know, like the technical requirements out of the job. And I know Mustafa and Shannon like hit the points of you got to tailor the questions based on who you're talking to. Obviously, like a recruiter is more about the program, an engineer, you can talk to more about their technical experience, and maybe you could talk to them about how they've been able to grow or like be able to own features or switch between teams, things like that. That might be more of a full-time kind of thing. But something I always like to ask, just because it is a important part of my life, is I like to talk more about the company values. I ultimately want to work for a company where a huge part of their culture is women empowerment and technology. So things like that, you know, maybe getting to know the core values that they're built upon, just to see, are those values that I align with personally? Would I want to work in a culture where those things are kind of focused on? I think it's important to sometimes answer, you know, ask those questions if it's important to you. So that's just a slightly different perspective, but something I still value in asking them about. So.
Are there other questions in chat? Okay, I'm looking at, is it okay to ask about work environment or is that a sensitive topic? I think that's fine, honestly. If you ask about work environment, that's a fair question to ask. I don't think that they could really, I don't know if you mean the actual stuff that they're working on, like specific topics, because they do sign NDAs, or we do sign NDAs, so we can't really elaborate on that. But in terms of work culture, that's very valid.
Yeah, I almost always ask about like work-life balance as well. Like, do they make you, like, are you just constantly on the grind? Do you have like social events, etc.?
I think that, yeah. And then I'm seeing some questions more about like the virtual intern. So one question, is it okay to ask if the position is remote or virtual? Absolutely. It's just like asking where am I located, even if it were in person. That's a totally normal question, and it's part of the job. Hopefully it's already provided in the job description. And registering for like group or one-on-one sessions, I have actually just went through a career fair that was virtual. And I experienced both one-on-one and group interviews. And obviously I'm biased towards one-on-one because I'm selfish when I'm recruiting and I'd like to spend more personal time with the recruiter. You know, it gives me more time to talk about myself. So ideally it would be very nice if you could opt for a one-on-one, but a group one, obviously if you have to go, definitely still it's an interview opportunity or an opportunity to get your name with the recruiter. Just make sure you try to stand out from a group, you know, ask good questions. Try to get a bit of an elevator speech in there, you know, just make sure you try to stand out. So you guys have anything to add to those questions? I know I just like tackled both at once.
I agree.
So make sure you guys have these questions prepared beforehand, because they're the last question any interviewer is going to ask is, do you have any questions for us? So you want to act like you've thought about it and that you actually care about the company, even if you don't. So these questions are some really great things that you should definitely be asking them. You know, ask them things like, what are some common traits you found in your most successful interns or employees? You know, you want to show them that you care about emulating that and you want to know how to be successful. So that's definitely one question I think that is beneficial to ask.
Yeah, it's also a great opportunity to start a conversation and build a better human connection with your interviewer. That way it goes beyond the general interview questions.
Yeah.
You want to have a conversation, right? You want to seem like empathetic and you want to seem friendly and you want to feel like a good culture fit for that company. So if your interviewer likes you and you have a good conversation with them, you'll move further along the process than if it was pretty dry and just question and answer. Because nobody wants to have a conversation with someone like that.
Yeah, so Corey just asked, will the recruiter give the technical questions or will the engineer? In my experience, the recruiter is almost never going to ask you a technical question. Like I don't know, I've never had that experience. I don't know any anecdotes. Someone prove me wrong, but even at the virtual intern fair, if you're talking to a recruiter, they're, you know, just trying to get to know you, trying to know your experiences and see if that matches up with like what the engineers and what the hiring managers have told them, like, hey, we're looking for people who have like done this kind of stuff or like who are really like excited about this kind of work. Most likely you're not going to be asked a technical question. Some companies that do, TI, will ask you technical questions there. They always do, any engineering position, super fun. But yeah, it will definitely be an engineer who asks you a technical question.
A little bit different perspective. In my experience, I went to Grace Hopper when I interviewed for Microsoft. And so I guess if you go to a different conference, I think the experience might be a little bit different. So I actually had an engineer ask me behavioral questions, but this was tailored to a project management role. In that case, they really do focus on that conflict resolution type of question. And so that might be a more technical behavioral question, if that makes sense.
I would like to counter with Mustafa and provide a personal anecdote. I'm saying that way too many times. I apologize. I was applying for a site reliability position with LinkedIn, and my first round was actually a technical screening from a recruiter. They didn't have any background on what they were talking to me about. It was general like Linux, like the terminal and stuff, but they were recording my responses on a document and they gave it to engineers. So I don't know how likely you're going to be in that situation, but just know that there's a possibility, like inverted roles, like Shannon was saying, based on, you could have an engineer talking more behavioral type. I had a recruiter ask me like grill me on technical questions, which I didn't anticipate. So just know that there are different variations, and it's obviously dependent upon the company and the role that you're applying to. So you could potentially be asked technical questions by a recruiter. They won't be able to tell you how you've done. They'll just be like, okay, I'm just like writing everything down, and an engineer will interpret what you said. So
Yeah, I think there's
difficult too, because you won't get that like instant feedback. So like
yeah.
So Ram asked a while ago, what is the difference between talking to a recruiter and talking to an engineer? I mean, it's just their backgrounds really, and what they know, and probably what kind of stuff they'll ask you. But otherwise, yeah, like usually, this is just stereotyping, I guess, but recruiters tend to be more like excited about like interns and like recruitment because that's their job, and engineers are usually like a bit more like kind of to the point, and like they're just like, do you know it, do you not? But that's just a stereotype again.
So I'm going to interrupt real quick here. So I feel like people are going to be asking questions as we go, but I do want to get through the presentation. So like, can we just finish the presentation and do the questions after? Are y'all cool with that? Like, you can put it in the chat. We'll just do it after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome.
All right, so let's get back into it. Great break that we had, and now back to a motivational speech from yours truly. So throughout this entire affair, what did I say was the most important thing? Being your best self. Yeah. So why is this important? You really don't want to lie to your interviewer. If you do, okay, personal anecdote also. I kind of did like fumbled the truth a little bit when I was interviewing for a unnamed company. And I said that I was a junior because I was a junior by credit. Every single UTD student does this, but I did it. And guess what? I got an interview and I made it to the final round. And if I hadn't done that, would I have gotten to the final round? No. So be your best self, maybe stretch the truth a little bit if you can. If you cannot, don't lie that you can't do, like that you can write Python, but you can't write in Python. Okay, like you can probably learn Python in 5 minutes, but like in reality, don't lie if you really can't, but for something small like that, I feel like it's fine, because what you really need is, this is like your best slightly stretched out self. What you really need is that confidence to make sure that you're doing your best, and you never know what can happen. Exhibit this gif. And so like, let the opportunities come for you. Like, I didn't think I was going to get an interview with Microsoft. When I fell in line, that was like 30, maybe 60 people long, and it just happened. I actually got the last interview slot, and if I hadn't gone in line at that moment, it would have gone to someone else. So just believe in yourself, have the confidence, maybe stretch the truth a little bit, and just have a great time.
Yeah, I just want to, like adding to that, like it's literally like, you have no idea how much it puts you ahead of the crowd when you're just like able to speak about yourself in a confident manner. Like, so many people get to the intern fair like really wanting, something to come out of it, but they're not ready to talk about themselves. They're not ready to like put themselves out there in like an open way, right? Like they try to hide behind their resume, but the whole point of the fair is for you to get that like personal contact with someone else, and like, go beyond just your resume, go beyond just your GPA. So like really bring your best self, like just try to be like as genuine as possible. Yeah. This is my stuff. So yeah, this is just like kind of what happens after the fair. So hopefully, you hit up all the companies you want to, it goes amazing. Everyone falls in love with you. Most likely what's going to happen is companies will ask you to apply to a specific job posting. So at the top, that's like an example. But make sure you do that as quickly as possible. If a recruiter is telling you to apply, like, you know, they're like, oh, please apply to this job, right? Use this job ID, or like, you know, something along that lines, it's most likely because they want to move you along in the pipeline. And, you know, they just can't do that if you're not in their official like database, in their official pipeline. So please do that as fast as possible. Like, even if you're like, oh no, you know, I want to tweak my resume a little. Oh, like, there's just this, like, one more thing, do not procrastinate. Try to do it by the end of the day. Because it's, at the end of the day, like, once you're in the pipeline, you're going to move through it. Some recruiters may directly follow up with you through an email, like with this information, or probably through Handshake as well, since that's the platform we're using. So definitely check your emails, check Handshake as well. That's like something that's not on my mind at all, right? But Handshake messages and direct like messages in Handshake will happen. Okay, and then this is just like a last thing. Like, if you made a real connection with a recruiter, then it's okay to send them a message. Do not spam recruiters on LinkedIn. Yeah, it's like I know there's like a lot of, especially right now, there's a lot of information about how to ping recruiters, how to do it, you know, how to make the best out of LinkedIn. And definitely, you know, there is a correct way, right? There are a lot of workshops. There have been workshops on that. But as of this, like, intern fair, right? Don't feel the need to unnecessarily network with a recruiter, because at the end of the day, you got a chance to talk with them. If they weren't interested in you, messaging them on LinkedIn isn't going to do much to your case. But if, like, you know, you guys were like hitting it off, like, you know, you had a conversation about like music theory instead of like, you know, Java, then definitely, like, you know, you could just follow up with them like, hey, my name is Mustafa, like, I talked with you. It was great talking to you at the UTD Intern Fair on Friday. I just wanted to follow up with if the position was still open, if you guys were still looking for interns. I'd be super interested to learn more about that, or something along those lines. I don't know the best way to message on LinkedIn, but there are guides you guys can find. But yeah, next slide. Okay, yeah, and then just like a brief overview of, like, hopefully it all went well, hopefully you get interviews. The major types of interviews we've seen in the past, like, obviously there's the behavioral interview, right? So this is like around half an hour-ish, and usually with the recruiter, sometimes with like a manager or an engineer. It could be anyone really, but the questions are focused on teamwork, on communication. It's about getting to know you, getting to know if, like, you know, do you know how to communicate? Do you know how to communicate technically? And would you be a good culture fit? And then the second type of, excuse me, the second type of interview are knowledge-based technical interviews. And these you'll see a lot of times with somewhat older companies, in my opinion. But really, like, any type of company can ask these. And it's pretty common with internships as well, where this will just be like a rundown of your resume, kind of like, okay, can you talk me through this project you did? Okay, have you worked with this technology in the past? Okay, so you have, let's talk about a specific part of this technology. You know, questions can really vary, and it's just like you know, do you know this information or not? Did you lie on your resume or not? Yeah. And then finally, the infamous, right, coding, whiteboarding technical interviews. These are the ones where you're given like a logical, like analytical coding question, and you're asked to kind of come up with pseudocode, or in many cases, you know, write the code itself. And these are typically a little longer, like 45 minutes to 60 minutes, definitely with an engineer. And, you know, you're expected to kind of talk through your process, how you're thinking about it. But yeah, that was just like a brief rundown, right? Hopefully you'll do a lot more interview prep after the intern fair. So additionally, this is just like, you know, follow-up resources, but obviously the university has Handshake. Everything is happening through Handshake this year. There are a lot of other jobs you can apply, a lot of other companies you can apply to on Handshake, so check them out. Handshake also has like a lot of tips on how to succeed at the virtual intern fairs. So if you want, you know, to read up more, you know, that's a great way to look, great place to look. There's also the newly crowned JCS, formerly known as the IPP office. Johnson Career Center, this is what Jerry Alexander basically runs for UTD. His whole motto slogan is getting you an internship. So, you know, hit up JCS. They have counselors for you to help you get internships. They have resume review workshops. They have, you know, elevator pitch workshops. They have all the stuff we've talked about workshops. So definitely another great place to look for when you're looking for advice and help. And then finally, there's the UTD Career Center. A lot of times when it was in person, a lot of companies would go through the Career Center and actually interview on campus through there. They still have a lot of resources when it comes to, you know, companies, offers, negotiations. So yeah, you can also look there. And then biggest resource, right? The internet. So many people come to me, come to a lot of us, right? And they're like, you know, how do you apply to jobs? They're like, where do you find jobs to apply to? And I'm like, Google, like literally go on Google, insert any company. Like if you can think of the company in your head right now, most likely they do software. If they're a large enough company, definitely have a software internship. Like insert favorite company, software internship, you will probably find a job opening. So just keep doing that. That's literally what I've done in the past. It is the best way to find a job. Other than that, there's a ton of job posting websites such as LinkedIn, Way Up, Indeed, Jumpstart, which is new and upcoming with the kids. All of those are great places to start. But yeah, a ton of other ones as well, such as I don't even know, but lots of places to find jobs. But yeah, just a last piece of inspiration, I guess. So on the right here, this is Saman Attar's resume. He was a ex-ACM president. As you can see, his resume is quite empty. But Saman still attended the intern fair as a sophomore with this resume, right? And believe it or not, he got an internship from this. He got an interview. He chatted up the recruiter. He got an interview. He got the internship. So all of you guys, this is basically reiterating Sahana's point, right? You don't need to have as much work experience as some of us have right now, right? Back when we were freshmen, sophomores, we didn't have all these things that we can be yeah, trust us because we've done this, right? Back then, our resumes were also just full of fluff and yeah, we've done this, we've done that, totally. It's not these intern fairs are not about your resume, or they are, sorry, but it's it's about a lot more, right? So bringing your best self, using the tips we've taught you about can go a long way when your resume can't. Okay, so do not use oh, I'm not at this caliber, right? Nisha Rajace's elevator pitch versus mine, there's no chance, right? That's not what it's about. Right? Anyone can make an elevator pitch. Anyone can sound good. And these companies are not looking for, ultra talented, tech superstars, right? They know you guys are students. They know you don't have that much experience. They're looking for people who want to try and who are willing to learn. So just project that, right? Project your best self, project willingness to learn, and, you can go to the moon or whatever. Yeah.
Adding on to Mustafa's little soapbox thing, very inspirational. Thank you for that. Actually, very super important. I think if there's anything you take out of that, especially the underclassmen, it's definitely what he said. I don't know if this is really relevant to the intern fair itself, just because I don't know what companies are coming, but just some advice when going into the recruiting season. Once again, this is going to sound super hypocritical coming from where I've been working, but it definitely can be very common to just follow the FANGs, the big N companies and stuff like that. The dream would be to get a software engineering internship. But do keep yourself grounded, and do know that there are so many other companies that are very software heavy that have really great opportunities for you. And I think Sahana can speak a bit on that with her experiences. And I know that we all started out somewhere else. We did ultimately, finish, we're at a company that's one of the big ends, but definitely don't neglect a company just because it's not like a high name or whatever. You guys know what I'm trying to say. It's just, yeah, don't like FANG or nothing. Please don't do that. Definitely keep your options open, because you can discover different product areas that you might want to work in that, you know, certain tech companies might not provide. So just a quick PSA about that.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming to speak. Shahana, Mustafa, Nisha, and Shannon. It means a lot. And I hope you guys gained something from this. Before you guys leave, I just want to go through a few of the slides that we skipped at the beginning, because it shows you guys how to register in case you guys are still confused. Jerry Alexander was supposed to come, but he had a last minute commitment that he had to go to. So he is the person who organized this entire virtual intern fair, and his life motivation is to get you guys an internship. So please reach out to him if you ever have any questions or just want some advice. He is the Assistant Dean for Student Development, and I think he also runs JCS, as Mustafa said earlier. So yeah, definitely reach out to him. To register, you have to have a Handshake account, and your privacy settings must be set to community. You can go to the events tab and select career fair, and then just click register, and you will see all of the companies that are available and that have available sessions. There will be one-on-one sessions and group sessions. So the one-on-one sessions will be 10-minute sessions in which you get to talk one-on-one with your recruiter. As Nisha said earlier, I think that's preferable, especially to hype yourself up.
Here, Aishani. So if you want to bring them on, sorry to interrupt you.
Are you here? I didn't see you. I can't see participants anymore. Are you sure he's here? Okay, I'm opening participants. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Jerry, I think we can kind of hear you, but you're very muted.
I don't see Jerry.
I think he's still talking. I don't
I
think
think he is still
you.
talking.
Can you see his face? Because I can't see his face.
He might be calling in.
No, I can't see his face. I can just see his net ID.
Oh man.
He's not showing up as a participant for me either.
Yeah.
Not sure if he's on here.
I see a Jerry. I see
There's
two.
I'm pretty sure it's the net ID account. It's the JDA, because I remember that's his net ID. JDA 071000 or something.
Yeah, they're also unmuted, but I cannot hear them. Or I can't hear
I love that you know that, Nisha.
I don't know why I know that, but yeah. I don't know.
You just maybe want to continue, and if
Yeah.
he hops on, he can take over.
Okay, Jerry, if you're here, hi. Yeah, okay, so group sessions, those will be 30-minute sessions led by someone from the company. They will set the maximum amount of participants. I believe there are still sessions available right now. I'm not sure. Check again, but some frequently asked questions that the Career Center has been getting is if all of the sessions are full, and the answer is, will there be more sessions? The answer is yes, they will be more sessions. Companies, as Jerry said earlier, are like students. They like to do their homework last minute. So they'll be posting their sessions last minute too. So keep on checking back, and hopefully you can talk to more companies. Can you attend the virtual fair if you're not in the US? Yes, it's not location specific. So if you're in a different state, or if you're in India or something, please still show up. And then, can I share my resume with employers? Even if I don't register for any company sessions, Yes, they will be able to see your resume before and after the intern fair, so make sure to upload your resume. And as Mustafa and Nisha said earlier about ATS, they'll probably be parsing it with some kind of robotic parser. So just have your resume ready before the intern fair and make sure it's uploaded before the fair. And I think that's all. So
Shani, I think there was a question in the chat. Corey asked for the people who interned at non-tech centered companies in a technical role, how did your experiences differ from that of people who worked at, I guess, your bigger tech companies? So I interned at State Farm this past summer, and I'm currently doing a co-op with them as well. And first of all, I know a lot of companies didn't, even the tech-centered companies didn't keep their internships this summer due to COVID. So I'm really grateful to State Farm and, you know, all the companies that did keep their internships, because it really shows their commitment to students and, you know, getting that next generation of engineers into the workforce. But speaking to my own personal experience, State Farm is an insurance company. You know, they're not what you traditionally think of, you know, when you think of like a FANG company or your big top tech companies that are primarily software driven. But even companies that are not necessarily focused on software as their products still need a lot of software engineers. Even though you might think of like State Farm or Liberty Mutual or Geico as like insurance companies, they still will perform a lot of the same functions that some of these larger tech companies do. Like I know at State Farm particularly, we have a lot of teams working on NLP, machine learning, big data analytics. Within the information security department, you know, we have a really strong red and pen testing team. You know, so there are a lot of these divisions. You're going to find the same tech divisions across any company. So you might, in terms of experience, especially for an intern, and especially for your first or second internship, I don't think there will be too much of a difference. It really depends on your experience and how much work you put into it so that you keep advancing into more and more technical roles within any company, regardless of what their primary function is. If that makes sense.
So another question we got was, do I need to register for a specific company at the fair in order to ask them questions, to interviews, or is this mainly to establish a connection with the recruiter? So to take full advantage of the fair, you should be signing up for their sessions. I mean, yes, you establish a connection with the recruiter, but that is the main point of the fair. Like, if you register, like everyone will get access to your resume, but at the end of the day, like, they're going to focus on the resumes that came to them through those sessions and the people they talked to. So definitely register for specific company sessions. That's the only way you will get to ask them questions, like, period. So
Ideally, you would want to get a one-on-one. Just like I said before, you get more time with them personally. But yeah, even if it's a group interview, even if you just end up learning more about the company or just ask a couple of questions, you have established some sort of connection with that company. And, you know, being on video camera, like you can put a face to the name, which is the most important thing you can also do, because it's right now it's really hard to differentiate with a bunch of resumes now that everything's virtual. So yeah, going off of Mustafa, definitely. Ideally, it would be awesome to do one-on-ones, but definitely, like, if you have the opportunity to go register for a company, but it's still group interviews, still pursue that opportunity because it's just more face-to-face experience.
Some people are asking prior experience and whether they should bring that up with interviews. First of all, volunteer experience, yeah, definitely bring that up. If that's CS related, absolutely. Talk about the technical volunteer experience you've had. Talk about what clubs and organizations you're part of. Are you in leadership positions in any of those organizations? They definitely, if you haven't had an internship before, especially if you're a freshman or sophomore, definitely talk about those experiences. They know you haven't had the opportunity to have an internship or get any prior working experience. So definitely talk about that. And if you've had a bad experience in one of these during a past internship, if you learned something, still talk about it. You know, you still worked hard to get that opportunity and you went through with it. So talk about that experience, talk about what you learned, the skills you gained, how you can use that going forward, and why you'd be a good fit for the position you're currently applying to.
There's also another question really early on. It's what's the best way or resource for us to know what projects a company has in progress? Besides the website, I think going on LinkedIn and maybe finding a specific company and the engineering manager for that company or for a specific team. You can maybe try asking them by DMing them what they're working on. I think that will show a really good way, that would be a really good way to show how passionate you are about a specific technology or how passionate you are about a specific team. And you would get a bit more insight as to the details of what they're working on.
I think there are a lot of questions coming in, but there's one in particular. Saksham asked, from my experience, there are more recruiters than engineers. So do you recommend talking more about things like teamwork and technical things since recruiters might not understand? This is where your elevator pitch really comes in. If you've really devised a good one, you can talk about your technical experiences and have anybody at any technical level understand. So obviously you need to cater to who you're talking to, crank down the technical terms that you're providing, but definitely still talk about your technical experiences with the recruiter. Like, I'll give you an example. So I built a notification that, so like for my Commute notification, if I'm talking to a recruiter, I'll just say, I developed a new notification in Java that tells a user when their route is disrupted by road closures or heavy traffic. So they know what technical work you've done. They understand the importance of it. If I'm talking to an engineer, I did backend development in Java. I used, Juice and Mockito, like dependency injections and things like that in order to develop a notification. So like adding in a bit more technical flair into what you do, but definitely don't stop yourself from talking about technical stuff just because as a recruiter, because now, we're in the age of technology. Recruiters are starting to learn more about, it's not like they don't know anything. Obviously, they are well aware of the technologies the company uses. So you can definitely talk about your technical abilities while talking about those soft skills about teamwork, your ability to function in a corporate environment, communication skills, etc. So it's really just based on how you tailor your elevator pitch and how you can make sure anybody at any technical level can understand your accomplishment.
So I'm gonna try to tackle two questions at once, but please follow up on me. So Suvan asked, what are good questions to ask? I think we touched on this briefly before, but try to focus on like company values, right? Like, do their values align with yours? Try to focus on what are past things that interns have done, like what are, if you're applying for internships, right? What kind of impact have interns have? Like, what does the program do? And then if you're talking to someone at a more technical level, like an engineer, and it, you can talk to them about their experience in the company, what kind of work they've worked on in the past, like work-life balance, all those kind of things. And then Srinidhi asked, do you have advice on how to make yourself stand out? So I would say great advice to stand out is, asking these like well thought out questions, because it shows that you care. And if you're able to like tack onto something they mentioned previously, like say you're talking to an engineer and they're like, oh yeah, I work on like Java full stack, like right at the beginning of this group session. And then at the end, you're like, oh yeah, you mentioned you work with Java in the full stack environment. Like, what is that team like? What are you specifically doing? It's like, whoa, like someone actually cared enough to listen, right? So I think that's a great way to stand out in groups.
Also, elevator pitch. There's a group interview. If you have a small enough group, they'll let you talk about, obviously it's not the full-fledged elevator speech, but you can get in a bit of like what you've done in terms of technical experience. And someone asked about a lot of okay, so this question is mainly about some companies have specifically been looking for seniors and juniors. So for the underclassmen, should they still sign up for those sessions or should we not? It depends on the company. I know, Shannon, you experience like, like talking about like your academic standing rather than the actual year you were in, which does work. But I think it is dependent on the company. Some companies, they don't care if you're excelled in your degree. Like if you're not a junior on paper, like they don't want you. And honestly, I think that is just something that comes up based on like a company by company basis. But if they've explicitly said like they only want like junior standing and stuff, I wouldn't recommend like if you were a freshman to pursue that opportunity or like sign up for that, that event. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, most of the time they just put these standings because they're really recruiting for full-time offers later on. So if you're a junior or senior, I mean, if you intern there, you're most likely going to take a full-time offer for them. So it's really just a pipeline, recruiting pipeline sort of criteria. But I would say, in my experience, if you really think that you have the abilities to, like, with the technical skill to complete an internship at said company, do it. Like, it doesn't hurt. You never know what's going to happen. But if they do have a hardcore limit, I don't know how it is with the virtual intern fair. So if they look at your standing through UTD, that might just be a different thing. But with other job postings, I'd say just do it.
Especially if you're just applying online. Like, I'm a sophomore because it's my third semester at UTD, but I'm a junior by credit. So if I'm applying to these companies online and they're not asking for a transcript or anything, just throw your application out, right? There's no harm in doing that. What's the worst that'll happen? You'll get rejected, which is fine. I mean, I've gotten far more rejection letters than I have offers. So definitely just throw it out. There's no harm in doing that.
And definitely remember, like, the most important reason they're asking for junior senior standing, like, if this applies to you, right, is about graduation date. So if you are planning on graduating in a 3-year pipeline, right, but you're like a second year here, you are a junior, right, because you're going to graduate in a year. So keep in mind, for recruiters, junior senior standing really is attached to graduation date more than credits, more than how many years you've been at the university. So Corey asked, can we ask for feedback from our interview? I would say, like, when you're at these sessions at the intern fair, they're probably going to be a little too fast and not going to really have enough time for them to even give you accurate feedback. Like, it's just going to be like, oh, did they like your first impression or not? When you do an actual full-on interview, I think it's fair to ask for feedback after the fact. Like, if you want to follow up with the recruiter and be like, hey, do you have any feedback for me from this interview that I just did? Or, like, can you share any feedback with me? Most of the time they're going to tell you no, like, due to privacy reasons and, like, the way our recruitment processes work, we're not allowed to share this information with you. Sometimes, they might be nice enough to just be like, hey, sorry, like, we didn't feel like your technical skills were up to par, or, you came off as a weirdo. Yeah, usually you won't get a positive response to that, but if it's a full-fledged interview, I think it's fair to ask.
There are also chances that they're going to give you feedback if you're patient. Like, don't be the person who, like, emails them 30 seconds after the interview to be like, how did I do? If you're going to follow up, just definitely say, like, send a thank you email. And I think something that helps stand out is, like, if you talk about specific points of the interview that really, like, stuck with you, I think that would be, a good follow-up to your interview. But obviously, if you're going to move on, or if you're not considered for the position, they're going to back up their decision with some feedback. So you will be able to get the opportunity to hear about it. Just don't try to push it, like, get it out from them as soon as, like, you finish your interview. Just be patient and you'll get it.
I think we're out of questions.
Do it? Do we get all the questions?
I'm really
taking some in the chat.
5 minutes if people have more questions, but
Yeah. But yeah, another note, I know we've been talking a lot about being interviewed, but this is also an opportunity for you to interview the company. I think that if your interviewer is giving you bad juju, that is an indication that you might not want to work for them. And if your values don't align with theirs, or bad juju, honestly, if you have bad juju all around, don't work for them. Yeah,
especially if, like, there's something like, you're taking that recruiter's time, but you are also giving your time, right? And if they're not being respectful of, like, okay, people are allowed to show up late, right? But if they don't respond to you, if it's just like you're always left, like, hanging, like, take that into account. Like, it's their job to make you feel welcome, to make you get excited about the program. So if you're not excited about it, like, that's a definite sign, that they're not excited about their job. So juju counts.
So I know there's a question, do you guys do a resume check? I don't think we have I don't know about ACM, but we don't really have a specific resume review session we're doing, but just a gentle plug. I do know that Girls Who Code is going to, we're going to be doing like a follow-up to this event. So basically, now that you've done the intern fair, and if you possibly have interviews, how do you tackle those? So maybe that might have a component of resume review, but I don't know about ACM. I don't know if y'all are actually doing anything. Ashani, maybe you could answer that.
Yeah, I don't believe we have anything planned, but before we answer any questions, just want to give a quick plug to our interview prep series that happens every Wednesday. If you guys are worried about those technical interviews, we are here to help. We go through a bunch of LeetCode questions and we give you guys career advice, and yeah, it happens every Wednesday. Last week, we started with the topic of arrays and strings, and tomorrow we're going to be going over hash maps. And yeah, this is led by someone who has interned at a hedge fund, and then also some people on the ACM education team. So please come out. We're always here to help. And if you guys want the link to these slides, it is right over here. If you guys want to.
Can I add one more thing?
Oh, so someone asked about resume templating. Yeah, so Shannon already answered LaTeX, LATEX. It's not latex, please don't say it's LaTeX. But yeah, LaTeX, so Aditya's question, I also use LaTeX. It is ATS friendly if you use a single column template. Just be careful, end of the day, you're almost always going to be submitting PDFs, and you can generate a PDF from LaTeX. The main issue is going to be, if you have double columns, it's going to be really hard. No parsers, okay, I don't want to say no parser, but yeah, I would really steer away from double column unless you're guaranteed, it's not going to be parsed. They are going to see the PDF that I upload.
Sasha, were you asking a question in the microphone?
Yes, I actually wanted to talk about our Paycom industry event. We actually have a software development manager, who is going to talk about technical interviews and what they're looking for. A lot of people were sending in the surveys asking for advice on technical interviews, and Paycom is doing that this Thursday. So if you guys have time, please come join us. Thank you.
Paid plug.
Yes, please go. I think Paycom is actually also going to be at the intern fair, so.
100%. Yeah, benefits of LaTeX. It's just like a it's like a markdown language, so it gives you a lot of benefits of you can just very accurately specify exactly what you want. You can also version it. Yeah, that's correct. But I mean, my biggest thing is there's not all this formatting UI. It's you're writing it's basically code. So it's very declarative. You know exactly what's about to be put onto the screen, and you know how to change it. Yeah.
I think we made it to the end of the road, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, if anyone has any more questions, please drop them in the Discord for ACM or Women Who Compute. We both have one. And we will be there to answer them. And I hope you guys have a nice night. It's Tuesday, so I know I have a class at 8:30, so.
Oh my God.
Ashani, what time is the interview prep series on Wednesdays?
It's 6 to 7:30. Yeah, so please come out. And we'll put our recordings up on YouTube in case you can't, but it's always better live because you can ask questions. So yeah, all right.
Recordings on YouTube. But yeah, feel free to add, I'll say for me, feel free to add me in the Discord if you have follow-up questions. Either Discord, I'm in both, so.
Me too.
Okay.
Thanks for coming out, y'all. I hope this was helpful.
Yeah. Bye. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay.
All right.
Adios.
Adios, amigo, muchacho.